for tuning into AWANI tonight with me, Saraya Mia. South Africa COVID-19 variant detected in Malaysia. And why are fresh graduates getting paid less? That's coming up. Malaysia will receive 3.5 million doses of COVID-19 CanSino vaccine from China in stages beginning this month. Health Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Adam Baba said the procurement of the CanSino vaccine, which is a single-dose vaccine, will benefit a total of 3.5 million people in the country. Dr. Adam added that the CanSino vaccine would be used mainly in rural areas and areas where it's difficult for recipients to receive double injections of vaccines, as well as for foreigners. As of yesterday, 698,203 individuals have been vaccinated, 215,395 of whom have completed their second dose of the vaccine under the National COVID-19 Immunization Program. Selangor remained the highest, with 67,931 having received the first dose, followed by Perak and Sabah. Meanwhile, 7.5 million have registered for vaccination via MySejahtera. Meanwhile, Health Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Adam Baba confirmed that the second phase of the National COVID-19 Immunization Program will start 2 days earlier on April 17 instead of April 19, as previously announced.
He said the registration campaign needed to be intensified as the people involved in the category made up only 30% of the 7 million people who had registered through the MySejahtera application. A total of 9.4 million vaccine recipients are targeted in the second phase, involving high-risk groups including the elderly, chronic patients, people with disabilities and individuals with comorbidities. Dr. Adam added that vaccination exercise would continue during the fasting month and that night appointments at certain vaccination centres would be offered to vaccine recipients.
Health Ministry confirmed today that the highly contagious B1351 COVID-19 variant first found in South Africa is being transmitted locally. According to Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah, there were so far 9 cases of this strain confirmed to the Kuala Langat district in Selangor. He said the presence of the South African variant was first identified in 4 local cases in March 2021. There is concern that the variants of COVID-19 may render some vaccines less effective. The South African variant was first discovered in December 2020 in South Africa and the United Kingdom. The AMNO party election should proceed this year as it is the best platform to showcase the party's Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister candidate. Ketere Division Chief Tan Sri Anwar Musa believe this is crucial as the party leadership will end its 3-year term in June this year. In his Facebook post, he said AMNO, as a party that firmly complies with the rules and relies on the voice of the grassroots, should not hesitate to allow the grassroots a chance to determine the leadership. During last weekend's AMNO General Assembly, the party had decided to withdraw its support for Perikatan Nasional (PN) and its leading party Bersatu in the 15th general election. Due to that decision, there were calls by several AMNO leaders for those serving in the current Perikatan Nasional administration to resign immediately. However, today, AMNO Vice President Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the AMNO General Assembly did not adopt any resolution requiring party leaders to resign as ministers and deputy ministers or from other appointed posts. The senior minister of the security cluster also said the weekend's General Assembly also approved a resolution to remain in the PN government until Parliament is dissolved. Department of Statistics Malaysia reported the wage for fresh graduates dropped to lowest levels in 2020 compared to years before. What is causing this drop? And how can youths best equip themselves for a future in times of uncertainty? Professor Dr. Jeffrey Williams at Malaysia University of Science and Technology explains.
What we're seeing is that new graduates are being paid in a range of about 1,000 ringgit to 1,500 ringgit in 2020, compared to last year in 2019, the year before rather than 2019, which was the range was 2,000 to 2,500, and that is a tremendous difference. It is not a small difference at all. It's a difference of 1,000 ringgit most obvious explanation is because of the impacts of the COVID-19 policy, the lockdown policy, which has made fewer jobs available for people, particularly new people coming out of university, perhaps with less work experience. So that would be one part of it. But I really have to say, when you look at the significant difference between the 2020 range of 1,000 to 1,500 ringgit a month and the 2019 range of 2,000 to 2,500 ringgit a month, a difference of 1,000 ringgit per month, there is something else going on there, because that is a very big difference.
Even before COVID-19 hit, countries faced skills and labor market mismatch. With the pandemic making the problem worse, what needs to be considered now to ensure youths can step up to post-pandemic world in terms of employment?
Our universities are actually training people in very large numbers, particularly our private universities, are training people in very large numbers for jobs which are likely to disappear in the course of the next few years. The fourth industrial revolution and the future of work is having significant impact on the employment prospects of graduates, and many graduates are taking subjects in business and management and accounting and finance. And these are exactly the type of areas where automation in the fourth industrial revolution is actually taking away job options for graduates. So there is a very serious and significant and urgent need actually for our universities to start to rethink how we are training people. And it isn't, as some people think, a focus on technology. It's actually a focus on different types of skills, including creativity, including critical and analytical thought, including active listening, active learning, and ways in which we can use technologies more effectively to create value and add jobs rather than to train people as technicians.
We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Ke depan kita boleh maju. Induknya adalah Melayu.
Balik kepada Islam. This is orang yang membuat polisi.
Kalau itu yang dikehendaki, fine. Mungkin kita berbeza pandangan.
Tapi kita mempunyai kuasa yang boleh menentukan budaya di masa hadapan.
Polisi yang mesra wanita sudah tentu dia akan datang daripada pemimpin wanita.
Perang COVID-19 masih belum berakhir. Dalam kita berusaha memutuskan rantaian wabak ini, kita jangan terpedaya dengan virus maklumat palsu. Simak fakta melalui www.astroawani.com atau aplikasi Astro Awani. Teruskan berdisiplin, ratakan lengkungan pandemik ini.
The third wave of COVID-19 has taken us by storm. There's no room to take anything lightly. Everyone must follow all the steps to stop the spread of COVID-19. Social distancing, face masks, follow these steps, this SOP with the utmost discipline. Together, we can flatten the curve.
Bila sentuh soal berita, tiada masa untuk tunggu. Kepada anda,
Welcome back. Workplace clusters have emerged as a key source of COVID-19 infection in Malaysia, with hundreds of cases traced to private companies. As more workers return to the workplace today, after the government lifts measures to allow businesses to run at full capacity, what needs to be prioritized to avoid any future infections in the workplace?
As far as organization is concerned, being an organization, we need to be responsible. We need to make sure that the talent that we have, the life and life of our people are very important. So make sure that we understand the things that we do. Make sure that no one abuses it. And if everybody understands the way of how we are looking at making sure that the place is safe, I think so. Generally, people are more more happier and be able to come back to office. Employees also needs to do their part, monitor their health, making sure that you come into the office, you log into MySejahtera, you make sure that your temperature is being checked, and make sure that whenever you feel that, your temperature is high, and sometimes, people want to come to office because they have work responsibilities, and because they may have some high fever and they take Panadol, right? I mean, people are here, people take the Panadol, your temperature goes down, you can go through the system. So both employee also needs to play a role to make sure that they are also responsible in making sure that everybody is safe, especially when you come to work.
Moving forward, Datuk Johan believes that there is a need to reimagine the workplace environment to ensure better productivity.
There is no one-size-fits-all. There's no silver bullet in this. Obviously, what we're looking at to make sure that their journey in terms of coming back and working in terms of flexible working arrangement may be something that we need to look in the future. We're looking at the way how we use office space more efficiently. Right now, my meeting rooms are not used. And how we going to transition, making ourselves more agile, looking at the office space and how we effectively encourage more collaboration, teamwork. You don't really need to be in office to do work. You can be in any parts of Malaysia to do work, and therefore it gives us a greater opportunity in terms of how we look and search for talent going forward.
Today marks 2 months since the military seized power in Myanmar. Anti-coup protesters continue to march across the country, demanding democracy despite an increasingly lethal crackdown on protesters. Activists burnt copies of military constitution as they continue to defy the military rule and held more candlelit vigils. More than 500 were killed since the start of the crackdown on February 1st. Myanmar Red Cross said its workers have been arrested, intimidated and injured on the front lines as they tried to treat mounting civilian casualties. Meanwhile, the UK has announced further measures targeting the Myanmar regime with sanctions against military-linked conglomerate Myanmar Economic Corporation. Hong Kong's media tycoon Jimmy Lai were among a group of 7 prominent opposition activists convicted for organizing and taking part in an unauthorized protest 2 years ago. The other defendants included 82-year-old Martin Lee, known as the father of democracy in Hong Kong.
They pleaded not guilty but now face a maximum penalty of 5 years imprisonment. The group were charged over their involvement in a peaceful protest in August 2019, where they called for greater government accountability and an independent investigation into police brutality. Lai, who owns the pro-democracy tabloid Apple Daily, has been remanded in custody for months, facing a range of charges under the national security law imposed on the city by the Beijing last year. The decision comes shortly after top Chinese lawmakers approve a sweeping plan that effectively ends open elections in Hong Kong.
Pfizer announced that clinical trial results of their COVID-19 vaccine showed its efficacy is 100% and it is well tolerated in youths ages 12 to 15.
In phase 3 trials carried out on 2,260 adolescents in the United States, the vaccine elicited strong antibody responses 1 month after the second dose, exceeding those demonstrated in people ages 16 to 25 in previous trials. Pfizer Chief Executive Albert Bourla said the company planned to submit the data to the US Food and Drug Administration and other regulators around the world as soon as possible in hopes of vaccinating this age group before the start of the next school year. The vaccine is currently authorized in the US for emergency use in people 16 and older.
Taiwan and the tiny Pacific island nation of Palau launched a travel bubble today, a first in Asia. The travel arrangement is seen as a testament of the two countries' success in managing the COVID-19 pandemic. Around 100 Taiwanese tourists arrived at Taoyuan International Airport near Taipei on Thursday morning, checking in some 5 hours before their afternoon flight in order to be tested for COVID-19. They will not be required to undergo quarantine, but must travel only in tour groups and are barred from making individual excursions. Contact with Palau locals will be kept to a minimum, with tourists staying at designated hotels, eating in separate restaurant areas, and allowed to shop only at set times. A new emergency ordinance will now allow PM, Menteri Besars and Chief Ministers unfettered access to funds without legislative approval. Is this a blank check for the executive? Tonight on Consider This, we discuss this with our panelists. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. I'm Saraya Mia. We'll see you tomorrow.